speaker is going to talk to us about citizen science in urban microclimate research. This topic is of great interest in today's context because the interaction of scientists with citizens, which allows for public education and engagement in science and research to increase the awareness of problems that affect communities. Our speaker is a building scientist with extensive experience in energy and indoor environmental quality of buildings. So she is a professor and the director of Sustainable Building Innovation Lab at School of Property, Construction and Project Management, RMIT University, Melbourne. She is also the president of the Architectural Science Association. She has published more than 90 scientific papers and has coordinated several projects in the area of energy benchmarking and labeling of buildings, indoor air quality as well as urban heat island in the tropical and temperate climates. Please join hands with me in welcoming Dr. Priya Rajagopalan.
Hello everyone, I'm Priya from RMIT University. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present today. It's a great honor to be here presenting at the ICON-Best 2021 conference. Today I'm presenting about the application of citizen science in urban microclimate research based on a project we have been working since last 3 years. So the term citizen science describes public engagement in scientific research in collaboration with professional scientists. Citizens are volunteers who participate in data gathering to assist with a large-scale research. The interaction of scientists with citizens allows public engagement and education in science and research to increase the awareness of problems that affect communities. And for the researchers, provide assistance to collect more data, which is difficult for them to collect on their own. So far, citizen science projects globally and in Australia have mainly involved studying the rare organisms, track invasions and migrations, documenting declines in species, etc., and mainly in life science and ecology. And the application of this in the built environment has been limited. So this project brings opportunities for trialing innovative approaches using technologies such as wireless sensors and mobile app. So the background of this project is the phenomena of urban heat island. As many of us know, the number of extreme hot days is predicted to increase significantly over the next few decades, with huge impact on public health, mortality rates, energy demand, and economy. So the main aim of this project is to work with local councils and citizens across Australia and design infrastructure for measuring urban heat island, overheating, and local climate change. The results will provide data required for citizens to understand, mitigate, and adapt to extreme heat, and for policymakers to plan the urban environment and open spaces. So most importantly, through data collection and participation, citizens will be empowered to respond to extreme heat through an understanding of influential factors. So let's see what happens, what is the situation in Australia. Although Australia has always had heat waves, hot days, and bushfires, climate change is increasing the risk of more frequent and longer heat waves and more extreme hot days. The extreme weather events which dominated the 2021, 2012, 2013 Australian summer Many weather records were broken, including the hottest day ever recorded for Australia as a whole. So this summer has been referred to as the extreme summer or angry summer, where temperatures set new national average maximum of 40.33. So this prompted the Australian Bureau of Meteorology to alter weather forecasting chart. So the previous temperature range that had been captured at 50 °C, what you can see here, um, new a new addition of new colors uh, is added, purple with 52 °C and pink with 54 °C. So we have been working with 22 councils across Australia for training citizens to conduct various microclimate experiments aiming for data collection at a large scale. We have developed many kits with a number of sensors that measure temperature, humidity, wind speed, surface temperature, etc., which was distributed to citizens who conducted the experiments in various precincts as selected by the councils. So what you can see is a kit which got around 20 of such small sensors packed inside, and there are different arrangements and setup where people can hold this in their hand or leave it on the ground, whereas then it will automatically record the temperature. As part of the project, few reference stations have also been installed in different locations, and there are 4 reference stations, 2 in Victoria, Melbourne, and 2 in New South Wales, Sydney. And just to make it representative, one of the station is in the inland in the coastal location, and the other one is in the inland location, which is further away from the coast, and these are supposed to be really hot compared to the coastal locations. A large-scale experiment campaign was planned in the summer. The recruitment of citizens involved a number of steps. First, the research team worked with the council communication team to disseminate the information to maximum number of people, and this is through local newspapers, newsletters, and social media platform and other communication channels. And once citizens find out about the project and the timing, they express their interest and register their name through the project website. And before that, the research team worked with the council to ask the council to nominate a couple of locations which are strategically important for the council. So this could be a precinct where a lot of people gather, a square, a park, an urban park, a sports stadium, or some school ground. And once people show their interest to participate, instructions and training videos are sent to the citizens about how to use the equipment and what to expect on the measurement day, what to bring along. And citizens watch training videos. So this include what are the different experiments they will be conducting and how do you read the data from particular sensor, and what they can actually expect, how long they will have to be present during the experiment. And once the measurement dates are finalized, the dates and the location and the timing, exact time is sent to the citizens, and they confirm their availability and they gather at the specific location during that time and perform the measurement. And a brief summary of the results are presented to the citizens after the measurement. Later on, they can go to the project website and download the results. Anybody can download the results of a particular area. So this shows the data collection sheet where citizens enter the parameters they measure And what you will see here is the number of locations are marked here, and citizens can actually record the time of their measurement, and they can write down what is the mean radiant temperature, what is the air temperature, relative humidity, and wind speed. And other than in addition to that, they can also report some of the metadata here. For example, whether the location is sunny or shaded, or whether they are measuring on a light or dark surface, and if it is a grassy area, it is a dry grass or a wet grass, etc., etc. So this will provide extra additional information when the results have to be interpreted. So this shows a map um, which illustrating the walking route, and this is prepared in advance and handed over to citizens along with the equipment and measuring kit. So they have to, you can see they are numbered from like 1 to 10, and the route is such that people can cover this, it's not more than 1 kilometer, and they can cover this by walking within 30 minutes. So they will stop, go to location 1, perform the measurements, then move on to 2, and write down all this information in the data collection sheet. And they can do with more detail in some of the locations. For example, this is a street, and they can spend a bit more time to understand different locations within a section. For example, here they can use an infrared camera to measure what is the surface temperature of the roof, what is the surface temperature of the wall, and the pavement, and the grass, and if there is a car parked there, what is the surface temperature of the car, streets, etc., etc. So in that way, people can get some understanding about what happens under the shade of a tree, what happens on a asphalt road during this particular time, how hot the temperature can be. So the surface temperature measurements using infrared gun was one of the most popular equipment people wanted to play around, and they couldn't really stop taking the measurements while taking the route given by the researchers. So they would stop every particular location and want to understand what is the surface temperature of a particular surface material. So we covered multiple climatic regions in Australia. So what you can see here is Australia is very big, and which have different climatic conditions. For example, you have the Northern Territory, which is including Darwin with hot, humid summer. You have the New South Wales, including Sydney, which has got hot, dry summer and cool winter. And we have Victoria, where I'm located, which has got, and include Melbourne, which has got mild, temperate, cool, temperate climate. And there was a lot of support from the state ministers, mayors of local councils, and a number of different councillors who themselves participated in the measurement campaign and really encouraged their own citizens and residents in that area to take part. People were walking around in a group of 4, and they assign different roles. Some of them will be taking the measurements, some of them will be writing it down, some of them will be reading it out. And it was really a fun activity for people. And we also provided here some materials, for example, cool materials for them to understand what will be the temperature difference between a cool black and a normal black, and they could incorporate all these when they are, for example, choosing the paint for the roofs, and really practical measures for them to implement in their own neighborhood. So this is an example of a precinct we have measured in Adelaide. And here what the council was really interested in is to see this particular street, which has got a number of street trees, and how they perform in comparison to other streets. So we prepared the route map for people to walk around in these areas with carrying the equipment. And what happened afterwards is the data collected by the citizens were analyzed, and the meteorological measurements were used to generate local climate maps for different precincts. So a total of 6,000 data points were collected from 37 precincts across 5 states and territory. ArcGIS platform has been used to plot the local climate maps using the difference between the temperature measured by the citizens and that recorded by the nearest Bureau of Meteorology weather stations. And these maps have been made available in the project website for the local councils and participants to download and view. So the next stage was involving school children, because previously we involved people in mature adults, from anyone from 20 years to um, 70 years or even 80 years old, some of them. And we approach schools, primary and secondary schools, and work with the science teachers to include some of these experiments in their curriculum. And the participation of school children will spread the impact of the project to the younger generation and further enhance project outcome. So this is students performing different experiments, and really excited to see how fast the wind is moving and how dynamic the wind conditions are in outdoor settings. So different locations within the school ground. So one of the important thing was the schools to realize how hot the artificial grass surface of in the playground can get on a hot day, and how the different canopies they use, the cloth canopies of different colors, how good and how good or bad they are from protecting from the sun. And all these were providing great insights for the students to learn, and as part of their science curriculum. As part of the project, various tools were made available for the citizens, and one of them is a outdoor thermal comfort tool. So this is based on the universal thermal climate index. So using the microclimate data collected, the thermal comfort indicators are calculated using the UTCI index. So we have all the parameters here, including air temperature, radiation, humidity, and wind speed. And so these parameters can be entered in the data sheet and to get thermal stress indicators as an output. So people can enter air temperature, wind speed, TMRT, etc., and get the UTCA as an output and understand what extreme heat stress categories that particular environment are subjected to. And but what you can see here is the UTCA categories calculated using some of the measurement. And what you see is even with dry bulb temperatures between 20 to 30 degrees Celsius, the effect of mean radiant temperature, wind speed, and relative humidity, microclimate conditions can produce moderate to extreme heat stress physiological responses. A mobile app also has been developed and is available both in iOS and Android versions. Anybody can download the app. So due to the proliferation of low-cost sensors that communicate through networks, the concept of Internet of Things has spread widely in many countries, as you know. So crowdsourcing or citizen science approach incorporating IoT is a cost-effective way of filling the gaps and collecting on-ground temperature data in large temporal and spatial scale. So once the app is downloaded, citizens can use this along with the low-cost sensor. A small sensor assembly is posted to the citizens. They can use it along with a mobile app and make measurements at their own leisure. Once they complete the data, they can actually view the results and compare the temperature and humidity with any of the reference stations or Bureau of Meteorology stations. So what you see here is the sensor kit, which has got a solar radiation shield, because so that it is not really affected by the readings are not affected by solar radiation. So a detailed experimental setup is also made available to the citizens. So what you hear is um, people can choose what type of area they are setting up this experiment, whether it is a high density residential area, central business district area, or whether it is a green area. And the next level, you can specify whether this is in your backyard, in a park, a street, or a square. And also you can say whether they got any special features, for example, shaded area, a grass area, asphalt, dark color pavement, etc. And whether you have windy conditions there or not. So once the data collection is done, usually people can set up an experiment for 24 hours up to 72 hours to see a longer time profile of the temperature and humidity. And once you have collected that, you can review the results and select any of the Bureau of Meteorology stations. In this case, somebody is in Western Australia is selecting particular Bureau of Meteorology stations there. And what you will see is a comparison of temperature of your sensor and the data with respect to two reference stations. So you can really see the difference between how your backyard microclimate is different in comparison to somewhere in an undisturbed area. So the information is also made available in the project website. So the wide scale and longitudinal microclimate data are collected using mobile app are displayed in the project website. A portal of the sensor data is made available to view as time series temperature humidity graphs. So participants are able to compare the data they collected in relation to the area, um, the type of special features, and the environmental conditions. And the self-directed experiments gave insights for citizens about the microclimate around their homes, how and why certain areas are hotter or cooler in comparison to other locations and locations of the Bureau of Meteorology stations. So another deliverable of the project is a mitigation tool. So citizens or councils can use a simple mitigation tool to identify what could be the mitigation measures that can be applied to certain areas. And the tool will help to visualize the impacts of micro scale mitigation in various council areas, showing the average and peak ambient temperature reduction with different mitigation strategies. So what you see here, the mitigation can be in the form of changing the materials and providing water features or providing shadings or providing a windbreak. And what you can see here is the summary of temperature reductions here and what could be the mitigation options considered. And there is extensive research conducted on advanced mitigation material for the urban environment, such as cool materials and cool paints. And if they, from a macro level, if they want to go into specific locations and implement those strategies, they are able to do that. So I was just thinking about how these are applicable to the Indian conditions. As you all know, there is a dramatic land use change that has taken place in many of the major cities in India. For example, the vegetation area in Chennai declined from 70% to 48% in 2011, which is 10 years ago, and it has further deteriorated 10 years later. And in Bangalore, the built-up area has increased by 6 times, and the green cover reduced from 68% to 25%. In Bangalore itself, there was a 1028% increase in urban area and 79% of reduction of water bodies and 88% reduction of vegetation. So there is an exponential growth of residential air conditioning, and because of the global and local climate change, and people are becoming more financially independent, and people can afford air conditioning. So India has the largest residential air conditioning market growth potential, where cooling demand is predicted to increase up to 750% by 2050. This will result in 239 terawatt year electricity consumption, which require 300 new coal-fired power plants of 500 megawatt by 2030. The way forward is establishing a network of communities, industries, non-governmental organizations, innovators, and policymakers, and collaborative workshops, best practice case studies, and mobile app and online platforms, which I have discussed earlier, could be used, where public researchers, decision makers, and industry can work together for improved knowledge. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Priya Rajagopalan, for your excellent presentation and creating awareness and the need for the interaction of scientists and citizens to solve the problems. Now we shall take a short break for a sponsor video, post which we shall proceed to our next speaker.
Trust EPCO for all the furniture hardware. EPCO, simplifying lives.
Live Smart by EPCO. Intelligent hardware for homes.